Okay, how we doing? Hey there. How are you?
Do you appreciate a guy like John Harbaugh kind of cut his teeth in the league, coaching special teams? And when you watch them, I know Dan spends a ton of time. There's obviously such a huge emphasis on special teams. Do you see that with Baltimore too? Are they similar in that regard?
Yeah. Number one, I'd say I have a lot of respect for him. So when I got to Philly, he wasn't the guy who was there before me, but he was before that guy and had done an incredible job, obviously. And so I heard a lot about him. That's all you heard about when you were coaching special teams in Philly was Harbaugh. The truth is he's done an incredible job as a football coach, and I would say as a special teams coach and as a head coach. Thing I admire the most from my shoes right now is he's won with the Baltimore Ravens, number one, for a long time, for a lot of years in a row, been highly successful. And the part that I really appreciate is that he's done it in a lot of different ways. He's done it with the drop back quarterback. He's done it with the mobile quarterback. He's had to adjust and evolve and adapt his systems throughout the course of his career there. He's done it with different defenses and different approaches on defense. And I think when you're a special teams coach, to be honest with you, you learn a lot about that, because here's the players this year, here are the players you got that year, and so you're not like, well, this is my system on offense, this is my system on defense, this is what I do on special teams. You have to evolve to the players that you have, and I think he's done that as good as any coach in the National Football League. Obviously, when you come from coaching special teams, you understand the roster, the top of it and the bottom of it. You understand all three phases. You understand complementary football, and I think they just do a number of things very, very well. So I have a lot of respect for him. He's always been great to me. I think he does a great job. His teams play well. His special teams groups are always hard to play against. We got our challenges this week against those guys. They're always long. They're physical. They're very sound. They stay in their gaps. They stay in their areas. They can rush the punt. They put pressure on you there. Their kickers put pressure on the returners. They get the ball on the ground in both phases now, even on their kickoff. So it'll be a great opportunity for us. I know as a football team, I feel like in game one, we really weren't where we wanted to be. Game two, I felt like we made a lot of improvement. And now I think we get a chance to go against a very good group who's well coached and will challenge us even more. So it should be fun.
I don't think we take for granted that it's difficult to make 55-yard field goals. Those are not a given. But when we saw Jake miss in camp from those distances, frequently it was that just slightly left. Is that, a minor mechanical thing that needs adjustment?
No, I feel, no. Some of these guys, sometimes it's more concerning if a guy misses left and right, and at least he's kind of got the same thing. He's doing the same thing over and over. So I wouldn't say that's a concerning issue. Obviously, we want to make all our kicks. We know 55-yarders aren't the same as 45. That being said, we expect to go out there and make the kick. So does he. He really has not missed a whole lot from under 48 yards throughout training camp and to this day. So anyway, we got to get better at that. We got to make the big kicks. Fortunately, it didn't cost our team. But the thing that was disappointing for me, more so than just the miss of the kick, was kind of the situation of the game and how it happened. I think that came following our fourth down stop on defense, and you really hope to capitalize points anytime a team's going to go for it on fourth down like that, back on that side of the field. Then you get the ball back on offense, and the truth is we didn't move it well on offense either, but to come out of that whole series without scoring points, to me, was disappointing. We got to be able to make those.
We've heard a lot of accolades over the years about Khalif Raymond, and he's been described as a lot of different things for this team. What would you say is his superpower, and what words would you use to just speak of him?
Yeah, there's a number of things about Khalif. I would say number one is he's just super competitive. I think number two, and it probably has to do with kind of his story and makeup and where he comes from, and that's why I love all these guys' stories. But he went to Holy Cross College. That was my first job coaching, was actually at Holy Cross College, and I can tell you firsthand that's not the place you're going if you think you're a big-time football player. It's a very academic school. They've had historically some good good football programs, but if you're being recruited by the big schools, you don't end up there. So anyways, so he ends up there, and I think, he obviously gets a shot in the league. He gets cut. He gets, another shot. He gets cut, and he's bounced around some teams early on. And I think when you go through that process as a player, you either do one of two things. You either keep fighting or you kind of give up, and this guy, he's a fighter. He doesn't quit. He keeps competing, and he's got a chip on his shoulder, and he finds a way to prove a lot of people wrong, and he's done a great job of that. Tennessee got him, or really let him walk, and then we picked him up. Our scouting department did a great job with him and picked him up, and he's been exceptional for us. And then not to mention the fact that he's just an incredible person. I mean, if you just sit down and talk with him, very, very unique person and great person. His mom goes to all the games. She follows him. So he's a great story.
Another guy whose story you might appreciate, Jacob Sailors, coming the route that he did. Maybe what do you like about that story? And then he made a big play for you, obviously standing out of bounds to touch that.
Yeah, Sailors, he's been great for us. He came in here mid-training camp. We had some injuries at the running back position. This guy pops out of the ground. Man, it's like, wait a minute, who's he? He kind of starts making some plays and flashing. And I know he had played in the other leagues and whatnot and bounced around also. But anyway, yeah, he's been great for us. He's done a great job. He's quick. He's fast. He's got some strength. He's played well in coverage. He made a tackle, or really two tackles on kickoff a week ago for us. He had some good coverage in punt. He kind of missed a tackle, but he was pressing the ball down the field. So he's been great. We're excited about him. I'm really excited about watching him develop.
What have you liked about the contributions of Pat O'Connor on teams?
Yeah, Pat's another one of those guys, man. He's a man's man. He's a big man. But what happened to him is he was playing in Tampa Bay for a long time, and Tampa Bay had some challenges personnel-wise on special teams, and he became one of their top players for him. He was kind of an out-of-position player playing on special teams as a defensive lineman, and they had a need, so they ended up using him. He played really all four phases for those guys, which wouldn't be standard on a normal kind of team or operation in a normal season. But because of the personnel they had, he became one of their better guys. So he played a lot. Like if he was here for us 4 years ago or 3 years ago, he probably wouldn't have played much, just because we didn't have a need for that. But so he put a lot of film together, playing on all four special teams. And then for me, I had the advantage of watching all that and saying, hey, wait a minute, like this guy can help us in some areas. And now certainly with this new kickoff return, it's become like there's an element to it. You're fighting for like 12, 13 yards of field position. You're lined up at the 40 and you're hoping to tackle him inside the whatever that is, called 28. That's 12 yards down the field. So it's not about speed and space. It's just about pushing guys and getting vertical and knocking guys back, being able to defend two gaps. They got extra blockers, and he does a great job of that. So he's been great for us. And to go with that, his attitude, energy, he's excited all the time, every day. He's excited about playing those plays, playing on defense. The more he can do. He played on field goal for us last week, so he's been great.
When it comes to the kick return game, I know you've only had 7 of them, but along with 28, I imagine you're wanting a little bit more explosive plays. Does that feel like something that's, you're really, really close, or are you kind of, I don't know, evaluating your strategy right now?
Yeah, no, I think with this play, there's two things. You do want the explosive plays. You also don't want the real negative plays too, and there's two ways to take it. It's like the Chicago Bears, the last return of the game, they're trying to run sideways and get around the whole coverage unit, and they get cut down to 17. So it's like, and for, 5 of those is one good return worth those 5. Well, maybe not so much. And that's where sometimes I've had this conversation before about like statistics. Sometimes it don't mean a whole lot for different reasons, but you could play different styles, boom or bust, like, hey, we'll take it on the 17, and that one that gets out and we get to their 30 or whatever is worth it, makes up for that in the numbers, but really does it when your offense starts on the 17 5 times. So anyway, not to make a long story short, but I would say part of what I value is being consistently good in really all phases. And I think that takes time to show out. And then I think the other thing with this play is like you could say it on every play in this game, but you're inches away or feet away from all of a sudden that ball shooting through and turning into a big play. And I think I said last year, that's the one part about this kick cover, kick return game that we're playing now. It's like everybody's right on the edge, man. I mean, you know, the cover group can look good, but man, they're inches away from giving up a big play. And so it's very volatile is I think the best word to use. So that should hopefully turn in our favor at some point. And to go along with that, like, yeah, I can certainly coach better, put in better schemes and get better, and we can execute that stuff better too. And that will be our goal, is to continue to improve. So, yeah.
It ties into that, but just wondering just your thoughts, because I'm sure you've watched all the returns. Has the return game been as explosive as maybe you thought across the league? I think there's one TD, and not that that matters every 2 weeks, but just has it produced as many explosive plays as you guys maybe hope?
Yeah, I think so. And I think as the season goes on, it'll continue to do that. I think as we get into the winter weather, I think you remember like late last year, then all of a sudden teams are pinned into a corner. They have to kick a certain direction. The wind's not letting them kick it as deep or be as accurate with placement. You know, and then I think on the flip side, kick cover teams have improved too, like moving the ball around, getting the ball on the ground. These guys do a very good job of it. Now they've come up short of the landing zone twice and kicked it out of bounds once. But they've also tackled teams deep down the field in doing that too. So there's a give and take in everything you do. But I think kickers are getting better at kicking the ball off and manipulating the returner's feet, so to speak, so he can't get started as quick and get downhill as fast. It's a race for that field position. But, yeah, I think the explosive returns are still there, and I think they'll be there. And I think there'll be some big returns and big games at big moments. And, again, I think one of the important things will be just consistent coverage and consistent return game, you know, throughout the course of the year.
Obviously, just like last week, most weeks I'll start by recapping last week's game so we could just kind of dive right into the next week's opponent. So just piggybacking off the Chicago game, I just want to first and foremost credit our players and coaches. Obviously, that's been a common theme around here, the resilience, bouncing back after a loss. But this is a new team. We added a lot of new pieces. So it was good to see the 2025, not only defense, but team come back, the urgency, the intensity. Like me and Dan talked, we knew Thursday, Friday practice how we were going to play Sunday because of the way we operated throughout the entire week. And that's a collective effort. So I do want to shout the guys out, but more importantly, the players there from that standpoint. A lot of things we talked about correcting week 1 to week 2 showed up. There were still things there as far as starting the game, the first drive of the game. That's a big thing for me, getting on and off the field, creating that early in-game momentum. We failed to do that again. And then some of the third downs, man, we should have been way more efficient on third down than we were in that game. In 3 plays, you pointed at the first big touchdown. I think it was 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. Just drop coverage, man. It can't happen. You do that. It was the only guy open on the play, and it's because it was due to drop coverage. You go later in the game, 3rd and 15, unnecessary penalty, which then led to another 3rd down, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. We get an interception on the play, another unnecessary penalty. So that's 3 third downs right there. Instead of being 7 for 13, you're 4 for 13 on the day. That's a huge difference. And it alters not only the score, the momentum, things in the game where if our offense can't put up 50 points, those are plays we're going to want to have in the game moving forward. So just being able to learn not only through loss, but also through victory, I believe, and continue to progress as the weeks go. I want to shout out our defensive line last week. I know that was a big thing. Tim gave that gross stat. You know, he started the pressure off last week with, I think we only got close to the quarterback week 1 twice, he said. I hope you guys was pleased with the uptick there in the pressure. No, but all jokes aside, just credit the players, man. Really attentive to the details, making it hard on the quarterback, pre- and post-snap breeze, things like that. That takes time, it takes detail, and it takes a level of training that these guys put in because they knew what they could be, and we still have a lot of growth. Giving up 21 points is still not the standard for defense around here. So we want to make sure we learn in defeat and learn in victory.
Chef, in basketball, there's the concept of making a player go left, go into his non-dominant trait. Now that Lamar is such a good pocket passer, like what is the left for him? Like what doesn't he do well?
Just like you guys asked me last week, what does Ben do well? I say everything. What does Lamar do well? Everything. What does he not do well? Nothing. I mean, he could beat you all different ways. Run game, pass game. Pass game, he could do it in the pocket, out of the pocket. So, I mean, it's why he's who he is, multi-year MVP in this league, and have the utmost respect for this player. He's a dynamic player in this league. And he's hard to prepare for. I've gotten a lack of sleep this week due to him, so I'll make sure I let him know that after this game.
When you face somebody like that, do you almost have to he's so dynamic out of the pocket, not only running, but throwing the ball too? Is it one of those situations where, if he drops back, Shep, and he throws for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, you tip your cap and you move on, but you got to find one way to stop him and not let him kind of do multiple things?
No, I wouldn't be tipping my cap 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. I don't think any of us would be tipping our cap to that stat. But, no, I know what you mean, Tim, like trying to make them one-dimensional, so to say. And it's hard to do. The fact they've added D. Henry, it only doubled down on it. Like, it's hard to make this team one-dimensional. You just got to go in with a plan that we've created as a staff that we feel gives our players an opportunity to go out and have success against this unit. I mean, they're dynamic. You got Zay Flowers, you got Likely, you got Andrews, you got Henry, you got Lamar. I mean, that's before you talk about one of the strengths of the team is the front, the bigs. I mean, this team is who they are. Every year you're talking about the Ravens in the championship contention. Every year in and year out. And over the last couple of years, you've talked about us in the same context. So this is 2 teams. We know where this game stands. Now, it's early in the year. This isn't a deciding factor of who's going to the Super Bowl or anything, but it is a litmus test for us and let us know where do you really stand against the big boys in the league.
Your corners have been really active tacklers so far this season. How important is that going to be in this game specifically against a team with so many weapons like that?
One of my mentors, Aaron Glenn, always told me early on in this profession, my first year here, the identity of your defense, the toughness of your defense lies in how your DBs, specifically your corners, show up in the run game. And when he told me that 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, oh, really? The linebackers better stop the run. But now you start to look at schematically what offenses are doing. They're putting the ball on the perimeter, and they're doing it on purpose, cracking support and making your corners tackle. And we've been afforded here this year. I mean, you see DJ Reed coming up last week. He looks like a linebacker. And it just sets the tone. If those guys could go in there and put their hat in there, why can't the linebacker? Why can't the safety? Why can't the defensive lineman? So we know that. We preach it, and these guys practice it. So absolutely, it's very important how your corners show up in the run game.
You mentioned the first drive of the game being an important thing for you. A lot of people look at that, offenses scheming up their first 20 or whatever, and so maybe they have an advantage. Just philosophically, why is that so important, that first drive, to come out and get a stop?
For me, it sets the tone for the day. Now, it doesn't dictate how the outcome of the day, because you can have a first 3 and out and not get off the field the rest of the game. That's not good, too. But to me, it sets the tone. And me as a defensive guy, I want to be out there first and set the tone for the day. So when we're called to do that, we need to go do that and let the offense know they feed off us, we feed off them. You saw it last week. It was a 3-headed monster we had. It wasn't offense, wasn't defense, wasn't special teams. It was all 3 guys marching in lockstep and complementing each other. Sometimes we needed special teams. Sometimes the offense needed us. Sometimes we needed the offense. And when you have that clicking, that's when you're really rolling.
You mentioned the third down defense. That was the problem early in the Packers game as well. Is the challenge this early in the season just figuring out what your players do well on third down?
No, it's doing your job. I know what these guys do well, and they know what they do well. It's all about execution. It has nothing to do with anything else. We need to execute within the framework of the scheme, which we did do for the most part of the game. And again, learning through defeat and victory. We came out victorious, but there was a lot of plays in there that shouldn't have been there. And these guys know that. And what they do, they put their head down and we're back to work this week. You wouldn't have known the difference in week 1 to week 2 to week 2 to week 3 as far as the players' intensity and their level of detail because they want more. They want more for themselves. They've set a certain standard in that room, and I see it. It's not just lip service. So now we just got to make sure we handle the execution part for those 60 minutes come game day.
Muhammad got more last week, and it seems like anytime he gets a chance, he seems to make the most of it. What does he do up front that gives you guys a unique look and advantage opposite touch?
Yeah, I told you guys, week 1, he was slated to get more. We played 47 snaps. Last game, we played 70. So he was right there in the target range where we saw him and having a role. And he's done what I've seen him do since day 1 of training camp. He's coming here with nothing promised to him. He didn't even know if he was making the team. It's an 8-9-year vet playing in the preseason. All out. Just go turn on the preseason games and tell me what you see from number 96. It's the same thing we're seeing now. So as we move forward, on and on, has nothing to do with who's available, who's not available. If you're available for the game and you show us you've earned the right to be out there and get a role, we're going to find that role for you. And the better you do, the more that role will uptick for you. But he's been phenomenal, man. It has nothing to do with ability. Look at the effort he plays with. That is the identity of the Detroit Lions defense. Forget the stats, forget any of that stuff. Just talk to me about Muhammad's effort, and that is the standard for the Lions defense.
How important is physicality to what you want to do this week? I mean, Scotty said it yesterday, last time you played him, they kind of punched you guys collectively in the mouth. So just to make sure that you guys are winning that battle.
Physicality is important every week. As a defensive player, as a defensive coach, that's what we preach. It's the only advantage you now still have as a defensive player. This whole league's tilted to offense, and that's all good, and we understand that. But the one thing they can't tilt is the way we attack the football and the level of physicality that we try to impose on our opponent. And that's non-negotiable. That's the way we play. It's the way we practice. And that's the way these defensive guys want it. So that's every week. I get, listen, it's Baltimore, all that. That's every week. I wanted to see physicality week 1. I wanted to see physicality against Chicago Bears. I'm going to want to see it every week, no matter who the opponent is.
What have you thought of
last 2, Tim and Nolan?
I'm curious what you thought of Tylee's. We talked earlier, it's not always going to show up on the stat sheet with Tyle, just the position that he plays, the double teams and everything, allowing other people to make plays. But watching the tape, what have you thought of his play the first 2 weeks, and where do you see him kind of ascending to?
I see him growing every day. I see him growing every week. Leaving that mindset of I have to make the play to have an impact on the game, coming from being a college player and a dominant college player to understanding his role and how we see him making plays. I think that's the biggest progress, and I appreciate the player because that's hard. You come in, these preconceived notions that you got to be the difference maker. Well, this is what a 3 technique, a nose tackle, this is the way you become a difference maker for us. And it showed up. Turn on his double teams, turn on the third and 1 and the 4th and 1. That's all you got to do. If you want to know the impact, why Brad in the front office went out and targeted his player, turn on that 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 stop. Those are quarterback sneaks. The percentile is in the 90-something percentile in this league. And that play got stopped largely due to that player. Now, there was other people involved. 2 critical 3rd downs where that's like being in man-to-man coverage. He gets a PBU. Those are huge plays that alter the outcome of the game. And he's showing up. And the more and more it goes, I think he's going to start to show up more and more on the stat sheet because he's doing it within the framework of the scheme.
Brian, since he got here, but I'm just curious, since you've become the defensive coordinator and are doing a lot of the game planning and figuring out how to deploy him, what have you learned about him and his skill set and just what he can do out there?
I learned that there's so much growth left with that player. A lot of coaches will see a player like that and be so excited that you forget to coach him. Like, I see that there's so much left within that player. And when I say a joy to coach, he wants to be coached hard because that's the right way to coach is hard. And he wants that. He comes from that. He grew up in that. And it's why you see him ascending. Every year it's like he gets better. That's not by accident. The time he's putting in off the field, the level of detail, the questions he's starting to ask that he would have never asked his rookie year. Last year, he started to pick it. The time he's putting in with Coach Jim O'Neil, who's doing a phenomenal job with those guys. Not just saying, I got 2 All-Pros. There's still meat on the bone left with that player. But make no mistake about it, he is, if not our best, one of the top pillars to this defense. And I want that to be said. And we go as far as our pillars take us. And he's one of those, and he's a pivotal piece for me each week, week in and week out.
Can I ask a real quick one up for you, Shep? Just the intensity and the energy that you talk about, how much of that starts with you? Like, we saw that very animated kind of dancing after the big stop last week. How much?
It starts with Dan Campbell, our head coach. And I follow him, and it's a trickle-down effect to my staff and therefore to the players. Everything here starts with Dan.
Monday Night Football. Man, I just remember the stories as a kid, just watching Monday Night Football with my dad. So I'm extremely excited. Monday Night Football, really good opponent, well-coached team, good defense. It's always a hostile environment there to play, especially on Monday night. But we're going to be ready. So I'm excited for this game. Any questions?
Can you speak?
Stories of Monday Night Football of you and your family watching them. Was it
Well, I got to stay up, and I just, sat there with my dad and we watched it, and I just, Howard Cosell and was it Meredith, Andy Meredith, and who's the other one I forgot, but just the music. The music, man, just gets you going. It still gives me chills, but there's nothing better than it's the biggest stage in the world. And to go watch these players play, man, it's exciting.
You spent a full training camp going against your defense that's ultra physical, loves cover one, has a safety that can move all over the place and do all kinds of things. Like, how much did that experience of seeing that for 6 weeks, how much does that prepare you for this type of matchup?
Yeah, we'll be ready. I mean, it's not all man-to-man. They mix it up pretty well. I mean, they're a well-coached team. Coach Harbaugh does a great job. And, they know exactly what they're doing. It's not like the old Ravens as I know it, but they're just well-disciplined. You can see it. They're tough. They tackle. They do a good job. They create turnovers. They got some really good players. Hamilton's a really good player. And Smith in the middle. Those two guys are really good. So I like where we're at right now.
When the defense is strong like that, up the middle, through all three levels, what kind of strain does that put on an offense?
No strain. We got great players. I've said this before. They responded last week. Our guys, when it's time to make plays, they've made the plays. And I like the matchup. I think it's going to be a great game.
John, certainly when you guys were on the road at Green Bay, there were a lot of issues with communication along the new offensive line together for the first game. How do you guys make sure that doesn't kind of repeat itself in a loud, raucous environment like this will be?
Well, you practice in the noise. You make it hard. You make it loud. And I think that helps. The communication, we got to do it in practice so we feel good about it. And if there's anything that's a problem, we just take it out. But that's the main thing. We've been doing that. Yeah, that's what you have to do. And these guys, listen, they've been on the road. We've all been on the road. We're going to be smart in things that we do so we don't to have miscommunications. I think that's important.
When we talked about the bread and butter of the Lions offense and getting back to that, how big is the play action in that regard?
Yeah, it's big. I mean, whether you run it and sets up the play action or vice versa. Jared's one of the best at the play action to me, throwing the deep ball. And that's what we did, We ran plays that they know inside and out, no thinking involved, and then you saw what we did last week.
With Tesla, obviously still a young player, has made the most of a couple opportunities that he's had. In doing so, John, do you feel comfortable now when you get that kind of one-on-one matchup with him, that 50-50 ball? Is he kind of gaining that confidence from you and Jared to maybe give him some opportunities in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have set that up last week if I didn't. But I like to see him use better technique on the release so I catch it and score, as opposed to do these one-hand catches. You can't live every day like that. So, but listen, he gets better every day. We give him a little bit more, and he does a great job with it.
The chemistry between St. Brown and golf, is that something that you can even help with anymore? Or is it just like they are figuring out on their own and just it's kind of all about them?
Well, I got to make sure I put them in the right spot, to have success. That's our job as coaches, to put these guys in the right position to have success. And, everything was just clicking last week.
Jared was talking about like the route though and the one comeback near the pylon right before half. Said that was just something that they've developed years over years. I mean, what kind of do you help that along at all?
We ran that play in training camp almost every day. So, and listen, you got to talk about it. It's who you're going against, that certain route. It's a way how they play it, how that corner's playing it. So,
John, you said you emphasized plays they kind of knew inside and out against Chicago. Was that an emphasis from week 1 to week 2?
Totally different defense. So, again, like I've said before, we're going to look at the defense, and this is what we're going to do. So that was a different defense compared to Green Bay. So we game plan specifically on who we're playing and what they do.
It was
Just how fun was last week for you, sitting up there, watching it, huge plays, explosive plays, you ran the football, you protected the quarterback, pretty much everything you chalk up that you want to do going in a game, you did. Just to see it like that, you've obviously known you have all the weapons, but to see it on the field, put 50 plus up, just how fun was last week?
Pretty fun. I watched the tape twice. It was impressive. Just all phases, man. The line coming off, the surge, the guys running routes, Jared throwing the ball. He's been over 80% last 2 weeks. You don't see that, and yeah, it was fun, but it's all about the players. It's not about me. It's just my job is to put them in the right position, man. And just everything was clicking.
Do you typically watch the tape twice, or how many times do you watch it?
I did. I watched it twice just because I was like, man, is this real? No, it was fun. It was fun watching these guys, and that's what I said. All the goes that we said before the game that we wanted to do, it happen. And that's the cool thing.
Do you typically watch? Do you normally watch the tape twice, or is that just last week enjoying what you guys put on film?
No, I don't watch it twice. I haven't been around that. It's been a while. I've been around some great offenses, with Drew Brees and stuff, but I haven't seen that in a while, so it was cool.
I'm sure you admire Jared from afar, but having coached him now up close for a few months, what have you learned about him that maybe you didn't know from a distance?
Well, he's very smart, and I talked to you guys about RCE, and that's what we've done. It happens every day, every single day, and he works all day, all night. We text back and forth, ideas, this, what do you think? And he comes up to my office. There's straight communication, and that's what you want in your quarterback when you're the play caller. So he's been phenomenal. He just makes my job a lot easier. Because I want what he wants, And if there's something that I want, he wants to make sure that he knows what he needs to do. But he's just been awesome. His preparation.
I know you're focused on the offense, but when you look at the game holistically, how much do you take it upon yourselves to, wanting to maintain possession? They're a team that, is decidedly more successful when they win the time of possession battle and are able to kind of
Yeah, it's it's going to be a tough deal. We have to be efficient on first and second down. We'll take our chances when they're there. But yeah, that's going to be we got to score touchdowns. When we get down in there, we got to score touchdowns. It might be long drives, it might be quick. It's depending on what they're doing. Like I said, it just depends what they're doing, what we're going to do. I want to convert on third down so we have more downs and then get in the red zone and score like we did last week. We had a couple of more opportunities last week to have a chance. So we got to make sure we capitalize on those when we do have opportunity.
What do you see the challenges being from their pass rush?
Say again?
The challenges you see from their pass rush and your early thoughts on Mike Green.
they get after it, and they do a really good job scheme-wise, especially on third down. That's where they want to get you on third down and 7 and 10, where they can do a lot of things. Mike Green, he's solid. So he's a good player. I don't like talking about players that much, but he's a solid player. Coach Harbaugh, man, those guys, they get players that are smart, just like us, and that's what you see that's what you see. So.
Coach Shaw said,
last two, Justin and Dave?
Coach Shaw says it takes 4, 5, 6 weeks sometimes to really fully understand what you have. It's only been 2 games, but you've been able to experiment and try a few different things with your offensive line. Got the pass protection right this week. How much do you feel like you know about that group, and how much are you still kind of trying to figure out what they do best?
Yeah. It's somewhere in 4 or 5, 6 games where you start feeling, okay, this is kind of what we're good at, this and that. There's, still a lot of stuff we did in training camp, that I want to get going again. But you start to feel it, okay? And, we want to do what they're good at so they play fast. That's the biggest thing. I keep saying that. I know I sound like a broken record, but that's the smartest thing to do. And then there's going to be 1 or 2 things here and there that we want to be able to try and see if it works.
Is that the type of game where you feel like you maybe laid a foundation for that?
This game or?
The last game, did that kind of lay a foundation for what they do well, getting them playing fast?
Yeah, I think for the most part, there was a few new things that we did. But yeah.
This ties in with that, but take Ratledge. Just where'd you see the most growth from him week 1 to week 2?
I just think the communication. There's still some things that we have to clean up technique-wise, but he was more consistent. All across the board. I think that was the biggest thing. Because we were the run game-wise, we were doing things that there wasn't a lot of communication, and everything was set. It started in practice where we take a period where it's just all runs, and I think that's important. The more you do it, the better these guys are going to understand it.
And this ties into what Jen said, but different dimension on the road, obviously, with the noise. So especially those 2 young guys, how much more comfortable do you expect them to be here?
I'm going to feel real comfortable. Like I said, we're going to practice it and the noise, and we'll be smart where we use things and where it's the loudest, towards the red zone and things like that. But I think I feel pretty good.